we are talking about the cedi's appreciation.
Yeah.
And its impact on the economy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, if we look at
and whether it would be fair to take full credit.
Yes. So the credit, yes, we have to take the credit.
Why?
Because, like you said, that is 2020. That's 2017.
Yes.
After we had just left office, and they came. After all the indications pointing to the fact that the economy was going to be better, they took credit for almost everything. Now they are saying that we cannot take credit for what we have done. And we believe that we have deliberately put some measures in place. That is why the cedi has appreciated. And I have to, let your viewers know these things.
That's fine.
Because a lot of people are listening to us.
That's fine.
So one of the things that I want to talk about, Dr. Bawumia was talking about trade war. That is because of the trade war, that is why the cedi is gaining strength, which is not true. This is a fallacy, because if you are talking about trade war, then what about the other countries? Let's look at Nigeria, our neighboring country. He mentioned Gambia. That is maybe another economy that is also doing well, like Ghana.
Was Namibia.
Yeah, Namibia. Yeah. That is also another economy that deliberately government have put interventions and policies that they are working. Let's look at Nigeria. Nigeria is just close to us.
Right.
Is the naira appreciating against the dollar? What about the other currencies against the dollar? Compare pound to dollar. Look at the level of appreciation. It's about 16.7% that the cedi has appreciated, against the dollar. So we cannot say the trade war is the main issue. In any case, we had Ukraine and Russian war. That brought us into a difficult situation in our economy. So this trade war, obviously, if it was in their administration, they would have come out clearly to say that it's because of the trade war. That is why we are still having, cedi to dollar about 20 cedis or, 50 cedis. So they cannot take credit for that, because this is an intervention that has been engineered by the government. They also spoke about non-payment of contractors. What has that got to do with the appreciation of the cedi? If we look at the appreciation of the cedi, we are looking at deliberately putting measures or interventions. And this is a simple matter of supply and demand. If you have more forex in the system and somebody wants forex, it's likely for the person to get it. So the premium that we pay during the hike in exchange rate, you are not going to pay that premium, because forex is easily available for me to be able to get the things that I want to get outside. And so if you tell me that, there is no point here and we haven't paid contractors, in any case, if we haven't paid contractors, has that brought forex into the country? No. So if you look at what we have done, and we think that this is the interventions that we have done, one of them has to do with the fiscal consolidation, because here we are talking about government revenue generation, government expenditure. We have cut down expenditure. If you look at the administration of the government, we cut down ministers, and that is saving us. The last time I was telling you that to maintain one minister for a whole year, you are spending close to about 10 million Ghana cedis. Compare that. Now we have about 56 ministers as compared to 126 in their administration.
10 million for a year, 4 years?
Because, yes, you need to give a minister a Land Cruiser and a small car.
How is it for the entire 4 years?
Yeah, I'm just talking about, So if you compare that, this is a simple mathematics that I think the listeners or the viewers, this is, something that we need not to go into serious economics. So the figures are clear, showing that government is disciplined in terms of this fiscal consolidation. Then we are also looking at issues about the gold board. They are talking about gold reserves. Please, as it stands now, have you seen in any published article that Ghana's gold reserve, which is in UK, not in Ghana here? Because see, when we are talking, we need to educate our viewers. The gold reserve is not in Ghana here. That my brother Sami Jenfi can easily enter and pick some and sell. That is not it. Gold reserve is in UK, somewhere. And that gold reserve, I'm happy that my brother said, now if you check, they had about 30 point something, and we have not even added up to a ton. Which means that currently, as it stands now, nobody has started the gold reserve. So the question I want to ask Dr. Bawumia is that for us to have gold reserve in UK and have dollar to cedi exchange rate of 16 cedis, and for us to have gold that has brought in, forex to liquidate the system, such that now we have about 11.9. Which one is better? The reserve is not doing anything. It's just sitting down. We haven't even touched it. The essence of the reserve is to bring what? Investors' confidence. Is to make sure that people that we owe, they are always in the known that anytime they demand their money, we have something that we can sell and quickly pay their debt. And that, ease the pressure on government. That is the essence of reserve. So if you go to UK, America, and the rest, that's why they have a lot of reserve. And that gives what? Confidence to the people. But in essence, it doesn't bring in any forex. In the first 5 months of administration, we are talking about 2.7 billion. You can't compare that to what IMF is giving to us, about 300 million and the rest. That is how much the gold board has contributed in terms of forex. So this is a simple matter of demand and supply. It has nothing to do with, these lectures about trade war, these lectures about non-payment of contractors, these lectures about gold reserve reaching an astonishing height of 30 metric tons and all that. It has nothing to do with that. And so if we are looking at the reasons why our cedi has appreciated, these are some of the measures that are deliberately, these are calculated, and these are things that the government has intentionally put in place to make sure that our cedi can appreciate. We have what we call the monetary policy. Now, as we speak now, we have what we call the liquidation sterilization. And if we are looking at the economics of these things, one of the things that we have to do, you mentioned that 27% of the monetary rate has now been increased to about 28%. If you look at IMF approach in making sure that you sterilize your liquidity, that is to establish a neutral system whereby it doesn't affect inflation and all that. This is one of the approach. You make sure that your policy rate, you can increase it a little bit. And one of the things that the Bank of Ghana or the central government has done that we need to give credit to is also the fact that the open market operation, whereby securities like the bonds and the treasury bills, either you sell or you buy to make sure that you maintain inflation and all these things. So they cannot sit anywhere at any point and say that we have to give them credit. They haven't done anything, and they deserve no credit. I was listening, and the issue about the rise and fall of dollar being an usual thing, it's not true. We were here in 2017 when they assumed office after we had predicted that the economy is going to have this kind of macro stability and all that. How did that last? It was just something that was in the passing. Within a short time, then we entered into a severe crisis. I will say we entered into an economic crisis that happened some years ago. And everybody was complaining to the point that about 1.3 million Ghanaians, the monies that they have invested in bonds, they have to withhold that money. The other day I went somewhere, and a man who had invested so much and had about 5 million Ghana cedis in account was complaining because of this haircut, that even to buy medication at his age, he cannot afford that. This is the economy that they left for us to come and manage. I've heard about issues with ECG and all that. Now, the point is that once the cedi has appreciated, what are the benefits that comes? As we stand, or as I'm speaking now on records, our debt has decreased by 10%. That is about 172 billion. Are we saying that this is not something that Ghana should be proud of? In any case, we're going to look for money to offset this debt. And so if the appreciation has given us an advantage, and you tell us that we should consider employment and forget about these things, then it means that they don't understand the economy, and we cannot hand over the economy to them at any point in time. The issue about the galamsey, electricity and all that. We've inherited huge thing. And this morning, I can say that I'll make a lot of reference to his submission and the lecture he has given me because I was listening very careful. He said that with the IMF thing, we cannot do anything around it. So that is a problem. They've tied the hands of President Mahama to the point that we had to increase tariffs. And the same people who are saying we can't do anything about it, they went to have press conferences upon press conferences trying to educate every Ghanaian that this government cannot help the ordinary Ghanaian. When they know and they have admitted in the studio here that the IMF conditionality, there's nothing any president can do about it. Is that how they should come out to spill lies? Is that how they should come and deceive the ordinary Ghanaian? Then when it favors them, they use as a point to justify their claims. That is not so. So I want to say that whatever the cedi appreciation has done to the economy, one, we're talking about job creation. It has now brought investor confidence.
Okay.
Because there are a lot of people, and more, I have to let you know this.
Yeah.
See, there were a lot of investors who wanted to come and invest in Ghana. And one of the things that they were looking out for is because the dollar and cedi exchange rate wasn't stable. It was fluctuating. So they didn't want to come and invest their money and lose that money.
Right.
And so they were hoping that there will be a change in government. And I can assure you, once there was change in government, that confidence went up, and there are a number of them that have come to Ghana. Okay. Are you saying that that investor that has come to Ghana, coming to invest, opening business, that is not job creation? That is in itself job creation. The other thing is that there are a lot of Ghanaians who lost their capital during the time of the dollar, appreciating against our cedi, whereby we had about 17 cedis per dollar. A lot of them, your capital will dwindle to the point that you cannot import.
Right.
On any day, we are import-dependent country. So that one, we can't take it out. That is why the president wants to make sure that we have a lot of businesses that are able to produce so that we also engage in export.
Okay.
So a lot of the businesses, a lot of them, they had to now close their business. We saw companies closing down, folding up during the time where the cedi was depreciating.
Okay.
And so now if the cedi is appreciating, that same person who couldn't do business with 200,000 can now start business with 200,000 because that 200,000 can buy something elsewhere for the person. And is that not creating job?
Right.
So that jobless person who once was in business and was thrown out of business because of the difficulties of the economy, that person has a job now. And that is what President Mahama meant when he says he's coming to create jobs. He wants to make sure that the conducive environment or the economic environment will help businesses to thrive. In any case, we're looking at the duties at the port. Now that the cedi has appreciated against the dollar, the duties at the port automatically has come down. And people are testifying about this. Are we saying that these are not significant strides that we have made in our economy? And so we should think about creating jobs and all that, but are these not jobs? The issue about DVLA, running 24-hour service. Can one person sit down for 24 hours? Even the normal lectures that we go in the university, you sit down for 4 hours and your brain is drained. What is the normal hours for the ordinary Ghanaian to work? 8 hours at most. Or 10 hours, depending whether you are in private sector or where you find yourself. So if we are doing 24 hours, are you saying that the same person is going to sit there for 24 hours? Would that not create more room for people to now be enrolled into the public sector? So these are significant things that the administration of President Mahama has put in place. And we cannot give credit to somebody who sits somewhere and says that when I come into office, I'll come and do this. Okay. In any case, we were here. We handed over the economy to him for 8 years, 8 good years. What did they do? What did they do?